Pope Francis is currently in the hospital. There is talk of bronchitis, but the situation is puzzling. After weeks without preaching, this unexpected hospitalization occurs. A few days ago, an expert warned of the risk of death within 30 days in case of respiratory infection. A simple coincidence? Or is there something else behind it? Let's explore the details. The pontiff was transferred to the Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic in Rome to undergo diagnostic tests and continue treatment for bronchitis. The Vatican press office explained that after the morning audiences at Casa Santa Marta, Francis went to the hospital due to a worsening of his respiratory condition. Official communications speak of a fair state of health with a slight fever and a positive response to therapy. As a result, the Jubilee audience scheduled for today has been cancelled, as well as the Mass for the Jubilee of Artists and the World of Culture, initially scheduled for Sunday, February 16th, which will now be presided over by Cardinal José Tolentino de Mendonça. If you share our values of truth and transparency, consider subscribing to the channel and commenting, Amen. Each content requires effort, study, and editing, and our work is completely self-financed. Your support allows us to carry on this mission. The Vatican has tried to reassure the public, stating that Francis spent a peaceful night in the hospital and continues to read newspapers and work, albeit with some limitations. However, the succession of events and some coincidences in the management of information raise doubts about the true state of health of the pontiff and the implications of this hospitalization. This is not an isolated episode. In fact, for weeks now, the Pope has been progressively reducing his public appearances, avoiding homilies and catechesis. From January 25th to today, on at least 4 occasions, Francis has declined to speak at celebrations or official meetings. Initially, there was talk of gastric problems, then a cold, and finally, bronchitis. These difficulties, although common for a person his age, have made his progressive absence from the public scene evident. The timing is also particularly significant. After weeks of an apparent strategy of silence, the hospitalization comes just before a celebration in which the Pope should have preached. This situation has led some observers to wonder if the pontiff's prolonged silence hides deeper problems beyond a simple matter of health. After all, the Pope has 3 fundamental tasks: to govern, to sanctify, to teach. If for some time now the Pope has not celebrated Mass in public, now it seems that he has also lost the ability to preach, an eventuality that, if confirmed, would have a significant impact on his ministry. The Sunday Angelus, which he continues to recite, is not equivalent to a homily or a catechesis. It is a prayer accompanied by a brief address to the faithful, but not a magisterial teaching as such. If the Pope can no longer, or is not allowed to, deliver homilies and catechesis, we are facing a totally unprecedented situation. Could it be that his faculty to teach has been in some way taken away from him? And if so, by whom and for what reason? Another element that deserves attention is the way in which the news of the hospitalization was handled. Vatican communication has always adopted a cautious tone regarding the health of the pontiffs, trying to reassure the faithful even in the most difficult moments. In the past, the Pope was often described as being in good health until a few days before his death, precisely to avoid alarm and speculation. Just think of the last days of John Paul II, when official communication alternated between reassuring messages and signs of concern, gradually preparing the faithful for an inevitable outcome, without any shocks. This time, however, the picture seems different. A few days before the hospitalization, the Italian news agency ADN Chronicles published an interview in which Professor Massimo Andreoni, an expert on infectious diseases, expressed his concern very precisely. In an elderly patient with previous pathologies, a respiratory infection can cause failure of vital organs, such as the heart and lungs, and lead to death within 30 days. These statements, released shortly before the Pope's hospitalization, seem to act as a warning sign, almost preparing public opinion for a possible worsening of his condition. Considering that ADN Chronos is a major news agency close to Vatican circles, the question becomes inevitable. Why spread such an alarming message right now? Who decided to prepare the ground by speaking openly about mortal risks for such a fragile patient? The coincidence between that interview and the hospitalization at the Gemelli seems truly singular and suggests a well-studied communication strategy. If the goal had been simply to reassure, it would have been enough to say that the Pope was receiving the necessary medical attention without adding worrying details. Now it is legitimate to ask whether we are witnessing a change of course in the management of the pontiff's image. For weeks, there has been talk of mild passing ailments, but now the picture seems to be changing to much more serious situations. One wonders if someone is preparing public opinion for an imminent change. After all, the Church has always carefully managed delicate transitions. What if the Pope's long silence, coupled with his state of health, represents the prelude to a more important step already planned behind the scenes? Even the fact that he was hospitalized raises several questions. If his condition were really critical, why, until a few days ago, was there an attempt to downplay the situation? Conversely, if hospitalization is just a precautionary measure, why then spread such alarming messages about the risks to his health? These two lines of communication, which seem to contradict each other, could be part of a strategy to gradually lead public opinion to the idea of a pope who is less and less present on the scene until a possible definitive replacement is reached. For some time now, observers such as Dr. Cionci have been hypothesizing that a strategy is being orchestrated to favor the departure of Pope Francis from the scene. Is his state of health the only reason for this hospitalization? We wish Pope Francis a speedy recovery, with the hope that he will soon regain his strength and health. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.